Welcome to the newest episode of the European Republic, the podcast where we speak with people from the Europeanist bubble. And today I have a guest from an organization that is very close to my heart, Rolf, who is the vice chairman of Astra Europa in the Netherlands. And you have also built much of our IT, especially our website, and contributed to the manifesto as a founding member. Welcome on the podcast, Rolf. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm feeling very happy to be here.
Yeah, maybe let's start with you as a person. Rolf, what's your background? How did you come into European politics and why Astra?
And that's kind of funny. Let me tell you a bit about my story because I've traveled around in very different occupations. And then I will move on to the politics stuff. I have a background as a physiotherapist, and that's weird because I'm now an IT guy. But at one point, just after I finished my study, I thought to myself, okay, do I see myself doing this when I become 40? Because we all know when you're like 24, 40, you're old. And actually, after about 6 months after asking yourself the question, I was like, no, I don't see myself doing this. So I turned myself into an IT guy because, hey, back then it was before the 2000s. And there was a big problem with Y2K going on there. So there were a lot of companies who wanted to have new IT guys. And I found one who was willing to reschool me into a software developer. Well, flash forward, I did a lot of companies, a lot of courses, a lot of new adventures within IT, both software and in system engineering. So that is how I became the IT guy for Astra.
That's an awesome background. I mean, it's rare. I don't know so many people who switched so completely a field, like going from physio to IT. But I guess especially in the 90s around the .com boom, it was very easy to like get into IT because it was so new, right?
There was a huge shortage of IT guys and girls. So a lot of companies who were really willing to get get to hire those people. The problem with that though was that there was also a lot of people who were just not fit to become a software developer. But hey, they were still used and they're still in office these days. I still know a couple of them, and it's great to have them around because, well, you as a philosophical guy, I spent my reschooling with philosophy. So that's and historians and all those kind of people who were doing that, and I loved being with them because what you can say a lot about those studies that they did, but you become a very broad person in terms of interests. It's not just hyper focused on one element of life. No, historians, of course, they go from they hit about any aspect of life in history. So, and they continue to do that in these days. In their personal lives as well.
Yeah, gives certainly a very broad perspective. I know quite a few philosophers that turn software developers because, well, writing logical arguments, whether you do it in a natural language like in philosophy or in a programming language, it picks the same parts of the brain.
Exactly.
But historians that I haven't met yet, that must be a very interesting person as well. But yeah, it's a disciplinarity. It breeds a broad and diverse personality, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I try to do that. And the one thing that I also that made me a bit special in that aspect is because of my background in physiotherapy, I became a much more social induced IT guy. So that's why I just love to hang around with people, love to talk, and most of my coworkers are like, will this guy ever shut up?
So
So
very
that,
far removed from the stereotypical IT guy who is just introverted, sitting in his cubicle and doing his
yeah,
stuff. Great.
yeah. So, and then to go further into the more political things, I guess I loved history as well. It was my mid school most excellent course that I followed, um, and I did a lot of thinking on the politics in the medievals and in the 17th and the 18th century and all that stuff. So I was kind of politically not engaged but interested.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the 19th, of course, that was the moment we all started talking about the EU, because the EU wasn't there; it was still the EEG. And they wanted to know about a possible constitution for the EU, and that was the moment that I voted against. But this might be weird. I didn't vote against the EU because I didn't think it was a good idea or a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they didn't go far enough.
Mm-hmm. In what sense?
In what sense? I thought that if you want to create a state or a body of governance that goes this far and has that much impact into the lives of the fellow Europeans, you must give it some punch. You must give it more executive power. You must give it more mandates, and that was just not there in that constitution. Also, the politicians were just like today, really bad in explaining stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first kind of disappointment in the EU back then in 2003. And of course, during all kinds of world-like events, the 9/11, the betrayal of the US for the Iraqi war. I mean, what they did is give us false information. Why that made us go, and I still stand behind that part. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if there is a problem, we should help. And there was a big problem back then, at least kind of, that they painted the picture to us. So if you get that picture and you trust your allies, you must go for it. But that was one of the disappointments. The 2008 crash was a big disappointment. The way how they handled it. I was working in the banking sector at that moment, so I was
Directly exposed, basically, right?
There was the ABN AMRO who got taken over by this banking consortium, and then the crash hit. So this banking consortium was also in dire straits. I was working for Fortis at that time then because, of course, ABN AMRO was taken over. And I thought, oh, this is not the way you should handle these crises. This is a system crash when the banks are in a problem. And what they did is they just flooded the market with more money. And we all know that is not a good recipe, especially not if you have more and more debt or credit going on in the market. So that was, in my opinion, a really bad way of handling this crisis. Then, of course, other crises came. Trump came the first time. We had a prime minister in the Netherlands who I thought at first was pretty good because he made the talking going, which in my opinion is always good. But that was the only thing he did. He only kept on talking, and he never really had a vision of, oh, hey, we must go there or we must go there. The visions were all created by the other people, not by him. And what I saw in my surrounding was that my fellow countrymen were just getting worse off by the year. So I kind of get really disappointed in politics whatsoever. And I decided even not to vote anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Bad idea. Then,
Very widespread. I mean, a lot of people voting participation, I think, dipped across Western Europe in the early 2000s and until now. And a lot of non-voters go to the populist fringes.
yeah,
No, but voting participation, you were not the only one who gave up, basically.
yeah, true. And especially, and then when you got COVID, it got even worse because the populists were all doing the thing that just doesn't help at all. I mean, they just spread everyone more to the far edges of the political spectrums. So that was kind of bad. And then I was also thinking, no, this is not going to be right. And I also thought that the state was having too much influence and doing a bad job. So I kind of dipped my feet into the libertarian world, and I was like, there are some good aspects in it, but it doesn't work this way anymore. And just like communism is a really utopian view that we can say, but it doesn't work. The human mind cannot comprehend this, and we are all just egos. So in my idea, no, it didn't work. So, and then of course Ukraine happened, and that was for me. Why does nobody of our leaders in Western Europe, because I'm from Western Europe, but also not in the eastern part of Europe, help these guys? I mean, we had in the 90s, we made these agreements. I was there when it happened. I saw the wall being torn down. I saw the eastern part of Europe become free of Soviet oppression. And I was like, okay, this is the moment. And sure, there are always problems with these countries in East. After you release yourself from being oppressed, there are always agents within these countries, within these nations that are trying to become the top dog and trying to become the leaders and doing the bad stuff because they have the money. But hey, in Europe, we have this opportunity. We have this institutions that can help us and they can help them. And then this war happened, and I was like, no, this cannot be happening. Even the Crimea War was already, of course, happened, and no. And then I saw this weird political party coming up, and you know this party, you were part of it yourself, and I was like, these guys get it. This manifesto of them, that really is the thing for us that I think that Europe needs, that not only Europe needs, but the world needs as a fundamental agent for our way of living. That, of course, maybe we should think this is European talking, so it works for them, and maybe not in Asia or in Southern America or in Africa, but for us it works.
Yeah,
and that is worth defending. And I believe that a brother nation like Ukraine is deserving of having this mindset, this embodiment of our system. So that for me, that was the turning point. I was like, okay, this is it. Now I'm going in full fledged. Maybe it's my age talking, or maybe it's just something else. But this is the moment for me that I needed to participate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last few years, were, especially about last year, beginning with Trump's second presidency, were like a turning point or politicization point for a lot of Europeans, because we got like woken up from the slumber that after the wall fell, it would only get better and better. But we now saw, well, democracy and liberty and our security, it's not a given. We have to stand up and start fighting for it. And the kind of like slow, timid, bureaucratic modus operandi that the established political parties have been doing the last 2 decades, it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't cut it, right? We need to change and shake up things. But regarding to change, shape up things, you said something interesting at the beginning earlier on, that you voted against the referendum on the EU because it didn't go far enough. I would want to go back to that question.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that? And how should, in your opinion, Europe should have been moved, or what should it do now in regards to its integration or the starting of the union?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, they didn't. The reparations of that of the initial constitution weren't that much different than it is now. There were some better improvements, but they didn't follow up on that. So if we look on it right now, it's like the parliament is not the parliament of the people, or for the people. It's a parliament for the European community, whatever that may be, but the people themselves don't feel it that way.
Yeah.
And that was the problem back then as well. We didn't get to elect our own representatives. And I think that is something, well, in the United States, a lot of things are going bad, but a lot of things they had figured out. I mean, you can contact your representative and they will listen to you. They will have town halls. They will have other meetings. And if you flood them enough, they will listen. Of course, they are being bought by companies as well, but the system is there, at least.
Yeah.
In Europe, this is hardly the case because you don't have a representative. You have a people's representative, but that's not a people's representative. That's a party representative. So the only way into that is via the party itself. And that was the same thing that would happen for the European Parliament as well. Also,
a bit on the countries, you're right. In some countries, you have more direct democratic, like Poland or France. But like in Germany, I don't know the details about the Netherlands, but in Germany also we have a problem that basically you elect party lists, and the parties are like their own oligarchic clique that tell you, well, basically, if you can just vote for the party, and they basically select the candidates, and often the candidates are not the most capable or popular ones, but the ones that are just well connected within the party.
Yeah,
and not necessarily in touch with the people.
Democracy back in in the Netherlands, it was like this: the first democratic elections that happened, I think 1857, I think it was. Not sure. That was the only time when the people had representatives. After that election, all these representatives started to bond together in parties. And from that moment on, they were party representatives. And there is a true disconnect over here. And because what happens is the party wants to stay in place, and you lose some of the aspect of listening to the people. Because if you are in power, you don't really have to listen to the people these days, because there are there aren't that many alternatives, right? You have the party, and as long as you fit in the party, you will become on the list of possible representatives. So
Yeah.
that's the only tribe you really have to take care of. And the other one is just, okay, if the party does well, or if the party is big enough because we can engage with a large enough number of people who have the same ideas that we have, it's fine.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's how I think a lot of the old legacy parties operate, especially the big, like, established conservative and social democrat parties who are often over 100 years old. But I think that's exactly why they are losing voters right now, right? Because they are basically only listening to what the party wants and what maybe donors want, and are out of touch with the general voter base.
Exactly. I've seen this research a couple of months ago where the disconnect is enormous. The disconnect between, okay, should we go more to the right or to the left? It's on migration, on economic elements. It is enormous. The parties versus the people.
Hmm.
And then you have the populists who also say they want to engage more with the people, but when they come into power, they don't deliver.
No. They often just are then at the end just so selling out to another group, right?
Yeah.
But what is when I mean, this sounds at first very cynical about the possibilities of democratic change or a disconnect in the system. How should it ideally go? How would you say can we fix the system here?
Okay. The thing is, I have a huge amount of trust in the younger generations.
Hmm.
Um, the problem with the younger generations, though, is they have this disconnect as well because they think, okay, here you have this boomer again who is going to do his thing for himself again. And I am like, no, we boomers that are invested into, and I'm not a boomer, I'm Gen X, so the whole thing is just a vocabulary thing. But what the stand-up boomers, Gen X people must do is they must help these younger generations.
Hmm.
That's the only way that they can go forward. And we are now in a majority, the Gen Xers, in a majority of people that can actually help, that can actually change things. And together with with a really big supportive millennial and even younger generation, what we can do now is force these current politicians to change and step over their shadows. And that's the thing that we must do right now to become a federal Europe. We must think of, okay, the nation itself is no longer the pillar of society. The pillar of society is what always has been family.
Hmm.
And now we must go jump over the family and over the nation itself. We must think in broader aspects of society. And that is something that I am planning to do. I'm trying to invoke as much voices as I can to think of beyond your nation's level, and beyond your family's level. Family is great because that's your core.
Yeah,
You must never abandon
backbone
your core.
of
But
society, basically.
yeah, but it is the broader society that can deliver now, and not the local locked up nation society. And that's also what the politicians are doing right now. Their base is in their nation, and they don't want to get out of that mindset because that's
Mm.
where the money lies.
Yeah.
And not where the progress lies. It's their own egoistical life view. And I think, okay, we must go beyond that. We must give the society a means, a dream to do better. And what we see in Ukraine again, Ukraine is this perfect example that cannot do it on its own. It needs our help, but it gives so much back already in terms of security. But can you imagine what Ukraine can deliver for us, in Europe as well, when this war is over and won? Because I do think that Ukraine is going to win this war by a landslide.
Hopefully.
But there is so much intelligence in Ukraine. There's so much resources in Ukraine, not in terms of just people, because people are resources as well. And that's, I think, the most important reason why Putin is attacking Ukraine, not the resources of in human terms, and also in the resources in the ground, the minerals and other stuff. But the minerals are also important for Europe. And we need that because those minerals are important for us as for the planet as well.
Yeah. And especially the agricultural resources of Ukraine are immense.
There's a huge food problem coming up, and Ukraine has the cards. As someone in a White House across the sea, across the oceans would say, Ukraine has those cards, and the Netherlands has those cards, and we must bundle them. And we are not here on our small dots in Western Europe, you and I. We are here on a huge globe with a lot of people. And I'm thinking of, we're not alone.
Yeah.
We're not alone in this. We are in this together. And we can only think in terms of circles of influence, but the European people are our circle of influence. But that doesn't mean that we cannot help others.
Of course. Mm-hmm. So, but there's still the question, how do we get there? And
Yes.
what's the concrete vision? I mean, you still described the problem beautifully.
Okay.
But how would like the federal or united Europe that lives up to the challenges we have right now, like the demographic issues, the war in Ukraine, the hybrid threats by Russia, how can we live up to that, and how can we regenerate our political class?
Very good. I've thought about it long and hard, and I'm thinking, okay, the best way for Europe to become a good, stable thing is, of course, it's the economy, stupid. So what we must do is get this economy running. That's one of the big pillars. To do this is make it possible for the engine of the economy, the small and medium businesses, to become bigger in Europe. So that means, okay, we must finish the internal market.
Mm-hmm.
No more tax problems between one country and another country. We must just finish it. Everyone, one single fiscal union. That's one of the necessary things, because what happens now is a big company in the US, like Starbucks or Coca-Cola or whatever, they have this army of lawyers that can deal with any country's tax evasion laws or other importing laws and all that stuff. The small, medium businesses are not capable of this. In Germany, what we see over there is that those small, medium businesses are really good at this, but they cannot expand beyond the nation's border.
Yeah.
The Netherlands, what they're good at is logistics, but they cannot expand much beyond this. There are all these regulations that are holding them back. So that's one of the things that must happen. The internal market and the fiscal market must merge with each other.
Yeah, so basically have a tax system across all the continent, homogenized, standardized, EU-ing, not like if you are a company, not have 27 different legal entities and legal systems, but just one.
Exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah, it also makes investments much easier, because you don't have to be figuring out, okay, if I invest in this country, what is my investment policy going to look like? What are my regulations that I must abide to? And in that other country, what are those then? we just can invest in them, and that's the huge biggest advantage that, of course, the US and China have over us right now. There is only one thing that they need to do. Those markets are huge for investments.
Yeah, I mean that's something also where Europe has a lot of frictions. For example, alone if it comes to like investment documents, how they are set up. I know of one case, for example, in Austria, notaries can sign investment docs digitally, so it can be recognized by a notary. But for example, that's not legal in Germany, where everything has to be done in person. And I have talked with an Austrian investor who had exactly the kind of issue. He was investing in Germany, and they didn't recognize his digital notary assignment, which is completely stupid, right? It's just wasting everyone's time that these things don't work across borders.
You can say a lot of things. The German mindset was really good in organizing, but they didn't evolve into the modern age.
No, but like they're like many areas like decades behind.
Yeah, exactly. So that's of course is one thing. And the other thing is what I already kind of mentioned is we need better representation in our legislative powers. That currently that is just a bad thing. Maybe we should even think of creating districts in our countries that are responsible for a seat, not just the whole country, but districts within our country, and divide the whole of EU in all kinds of districts. That will give us much better local representation. And of course, what we need to do is we need to, and this is of course a political idea. We are creating Astra, of course. Our party is pan-European.
Yeah.
I don't care if someone from Poland is being elected. If he's being elected, yes. If someone from Spain is elected, yes. If someone from Spain is elected, but not someone of the Netherlands, I don't really care because it's still the same party. And what we have right now in the European Parliament is we are all fighting to get our seat, and not the ideology of that person is being represented. No, the ideology of the party is being represented. And in a pan-European party, this is already being unified in that party itself. So quit with the localization. Get ahead. The localization is for your own personal representation, your representative, but the ideology comes from the whole of Europe. And that's something that you can say that Volt wants to achieve, that Astra wants to achieve.
Yeah. But it's also,
probably other.
Yeah. And the one we don't speak about. And yeah, basically we have to overcome these national incentive structures. And maybe let's talk about more in detail about that. How we set up currently Astra, what you're doing right now in the Netherlands, what your ambitions are, and what role you play. I mean, you have set up a lot of our IT and developed our website.
Yes.
And much more internal infrastructure. So maybe start, what's a plan? I mean, at the end, we have to unfortunately work within the established system. We can just start with a pan-European party, but we have to do it nation by nation, because we have to win and run in every nation. What's your plan for the Netherlands, of Astra Europa in the Netherlands? Also as one of the most active and also the only established chapter beyond the Polish one.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what I want to do is my idea of the Netherlands was to create some kind of incubation system. I would like to have the chapters are incubational systems for the federal organization. Train them and let them evolve into these political monsters that they have to become. That's just simply what it is. We're talking politics. But the advantage is because we are pan-European, we can pull our resources from a lot of other countries. This helps us not only in the local experience, but also in the international experience as well. So that's one thing that I want to do. I want to create these departments in the chapters itself that reflect the same way that I expect the federational organization will evolve into. Thinking of policy groups, IT groups. Well, maybe not IT groups, because my idea of IT is a bit different than I want to have a central IT that I can decentralize.
Yeah.
But the same thing happens in the other groupings in the federal organization. I want to have the same structure that we have in the federal organization to be reflected into the local chapters. And right now I started as my position as for vice to do the most internal stuff. I engage with the people to have them chatting all day around. I kind of succeeded in that, but because of me going now more into the IT stuff, I kind of miss that. It eats up my time. So we moved someone ahead in the local chapter, and that is what good involvement does. We said, okay, apparently we are lacking some capabilities, and we asked persons if they wanted to step up, and they did. So that's the natural way of evolving these local chapters, and I want to do that. And as soon as they are becoming good at that, I want them to evolve into the federal organization, evolve even more. I think you will have a meeting with Ivo in the near future as well. And his idea is, okay, we all must strive to become better, learn more and more, and then give that back again. Kind of like a natural life. We evolve into new things, and then at a certain level of expertise, we will give back again to the younger generations, and the generations in terms of politics is just, hey, we have new people coming around, and then they maybe even the same age as I am, but that doesn't matter. There must be a continuous flow of learning and teaching and evolving that helps us. So that's kind of like what we want to set up in the broadest spectrum of the Dutch chapter. And then, of course, what we want to do is we want to cooperate with other organizations to become more involved into the street jobs that we need to do. We need to flyer. We need to create events. We need to approach people who never heard of us. That needs to happen as well.
Yeah,
that's just the grassroots political party, of course.
But right now you are like a Vereinigung, or what's the legal status of a Dutch chapter?
We are an association. So in Dutch terms, it's a vereniging.
Okay. And the next step will be to also launch a party and run in elections in the future, or what's the ambition?
Of course. The next element is to become a stichting. That's more like, okay, it has to do with money. That's the whole thing. When you become a stichting, I don't know the English word for that, but then you can a non-profit organization. Then you can allow for tax deductional terms like for donations and all that stuff. That is really needed. And then, of course, we need to step up because we need to have. We also in the Netherlands we have districts. Most people in the Netherlands don't know this, but there are certain areas where you need to have a certain amount of people who want you to be on the ballot. So we must arrange for that. They don't have to vote for us,
Or
but we need to have the signatures.
oh, okay. How many? Do you remember how many that are? Is it a lot?
I think we need to have about 900 across the country.
Oh, that sounds manageable.
It sounds manageable. We still need to find those people. Yes, because we need to find them in all these districts.
Yep.
So yeah,
I'm still here. Just my background.
yeah, okay, good. So what we need to do is we need to find those people, and then yeah, I hope, but maybe that's too optimistic. I hope we get the people before the next official election round. Of course, we have a problem. We may have a problem because next official can be sooner because of the state of our current administration. But
didn't you have just?
Let's say in 4 years, it should be possible. It's very ambitious, though.
Didn't like the Netherlands have elections last year?
Yes, we are now 100 years in our current administration, 100 days in our current administration. And we already see that the parties are not that fond of each other, and it's a minority government. So that's also a big problem. They continuously have to beg and deal for the votes within the Tweede Kamer, the House of Representatives.
So it's a rather unstable government.
It's really unstable. It's really unstable. We already see that one of the partners in the government are thinking, I'm not sure if we really need to help D66 because in a couple of months there are new elections for the Senate. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, a big winner of the last election was like D66, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And they are also very similar, one could argue, with what Astra is doing, if I understand rightly. They're very like liberal and pro-European. They are not a pan-European party, but I think also Volt lost some of the votes to them because they have a very strong, or had at least a very strong candidate from them, and program from that what I heard. I don't know if it's still the case.
Yeah.
It's like you only hear about Dutch politics during election times, and
That's true. That's true. Well, unfortunately, I hear more about them because then this scandal comes around and then the other. Anyways, yes, D66 always used to be more on the left side of the liberal spectrum, which in fact is nothing strange. That the VVD in the Netherlands is a conservative liberal party, which is strange. But they're the most famous liberal party in the Netherlands, as you can say. Even Volt has parts of liberalism in itself. But D66 and the VVD are the true liberals. And then you have Ja21. I don't even know if they consider themselves liberals, but I think they're more they are the educated, nice far right, almost far right guys in the Netherlands. People don't see it that way because you don't hear them tell anything about remigration and all that kind of stuff, but they're edging towards that point.
But you have in general a very liberal political landscape. I think something like if you just look at Renew, I think after like Romania and France, the Netherlands has the like biggest number of MEPs that are in like a Renew and the liberal bloc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean you are a strong trade history.
Yeah, but not only that, but we always knew that on our own we were too small. That's something that the Netherlands always had, and that's an advantage because of course, after the Napoleonic Wars, the Netherlands became the Netherlands, and then it fell apart into Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. But we always knew that as small as we weren't going to cut it. So there was always this need for cooperation, and we did that. And we saw what it gave us. So that's the whole thing why we still believe that Europe is pretty much the end state for us.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think that, and of course there are a lot of people who don't think that, but in my opinion, Europe is for the Netherlands the end state.
Mm-hmm. Goal to reach a united Europe.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, and in a democratic ways, not in an enforced ways like they tried in the 1940s.
Yeah, no, or like Napoleon wanted also to.
Or Napoleon wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. But through cooperation and trade and economic integration and democratic representation.
You can even say that Germany in the 1990s and in the 2000s, it had the same mindset. The execution of it was really bad. We see now the consequences of that execution, but the mindset was there. If the trade and the economy is just good enough, people want to join us. Well, the eastern part of Europe did. Russia didn't. Other countries didn't. It was just kind of like a force of nature that happened that made the Eastern European countries join with the rest of the EU. But yeah, we see it.
We also wanted it a lot, right? I mean,
yeah.
My parents came from Poland, and in Poland, everyone knew after the fall of almost everyone, the majority of mainstream society was very conscious about, well, the future either lies with the West, with a free world, or sooner or later again as some colony of Russia, because no one really trusted the Russians to remain democratic, and they didn't remain democratic as we see today. So like, especially Poland basically blackmailed its way into NATO and EU even. Like they said, either you let us in or we start building nuclear weapons. That was basically what Poland did.
Well, sometimes it just works, that kind of force.
Yeah. I think it was especially like I think that's a funny story about Poland. They basically went to the back when Russian president, forgot his name, Yeltsin. They made him really drunk, so he signed a paper that he doesn't mind Poland joining the NATO.
Yeah,
they went to Bill Clinton and told him, well, here, Yeltsin signed, he doesn't mind if Poland joins NATO, and if you don't let us in, we will build nuclear weapons, and that's how Poland got into NATO. But I mean,
I heard that story.
It worked out well for the Eastern European countries who didn't remain outside, like Ukraine and Georgia. They got invaded by Russia, and all the Baltics, Poles, Romanian, they benefited massively economically, but also security-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
but can you see the amount of
that's also something.
Yeah, but can you also see the amount of potential Europe already saw in Poland? I mean, I can remember a conversation that I had with my dad. I think it was end of the 80s or beginning of the 90s. He was he knew this. He was traveling on sea, and he visited lots of. He visited Poland harbors. I think it was Gdansk or something like that.
Yeah,
and he said to me back then already, and I remember this still. I don't know why. Yeah, because he also had another fun story about Poland. But he said Poland has so much potential, and we already see that if you look at potential there, what's happening over there right now in the 80s, that it is capable of jumping over the eastern part of Europe, maybe even of the eastern part of Germany, maybe even over the western part of Germany, given enough time.
Mm-hmm.
there is such a potential over there. So the threat of Poland, if we cannot join you, we start creating our own. That was not just a threat. That was actual belief that Western Europe thought that they might even do this.
Yeah, but I mean that's also fascinating. For one, it came somewhat true. If I look at the economic development right now, Poland is still booming and starting to overtake Western European countries economically. But also that what's I think very unique about the European project is that it is a project that's expanding and taking in new countries because it's like a club everyone wants to join, right? It's not like Napoleon or Hitler who like tried to subjugate and conquer everyone, or like Russia. It's not built on violence, but on mutual benefit and understanding of shared values and trade and peace and prosperity and just coming together to cooperate. And I think that's very beautiful about the European project.
That is the strong part of Europe. It's not just a common thing of regulations.
Yeah.
It's not just the trade that helps us. It's also these values. And that combination makes us unique. That makes us really, that we can act as Europeans. I mean, there are people who think we need just a framework. That's it. No, that's not it. The Austria-Hungarian Empire had the framework, but it didn't have the people. There are other nations that had the people who had the mindset, but didn't have the framework. Right? And Europe needs to build both. We need to have this mindset of, okay, we are Europeans. We can do this together. But also, we are enforced by our framework. We have the euro. The euro is great. I mean, sure, there are problems, but hey, these problems can also be levers. Because for example, Northern Europe has the biggest industry of Europe, right? And it has its market in the southern part of Europe. So we always say, hey, we are the people who make the money, and the southern part of Europe spends the money. No, we sell our products to the southern part of Europe. Right? That makes us our biggest trade partner. But the only way that this can happen is if we also funnel the money back into the southern part, and also in the eastern part. Yeah. When you get that, when that sits into your mind, then you understand economics, and then you will see, hey, the economic framework is there. It's not just they are eating from our money. No, it's the framework that enables this.
Yeah.
That we get our money from those countries. So yes, we need to funnel money back into them because then they can spend back to us. Marshall help at the end of World War II. This is exactly what was going on there. Yeah. We got money from the US and we needed to spend it back in the US.
It's not a zero-sum game. It's like if we grow the pie, we have more consumers we can sell to across our own continent. We have a better industry, and the pie grows for everyone. And I think most of the issues, for example, the euro has are rather not because of Europe, but because of the lack of Europe. For example, we have a joint monetary policy with the euro, but we don't have real joint fiscal policy, right? And that's a bad combination to have if you share currency but don't have a joint proper fiscal policy. And everyone's doing what they want, and the French are borrowing way too much money, while the Germans are doing austerity and sharing the same currency. That doesn't work. We have to start cooperating on this level properly. But again, here national interests are often the short term against Europe. For in the long term, we would benefit all from Europe.
Sure.
So yeah, that's something Astra tries to change, right? By running for elections, by trying to work across Europe and transforming Europe towards a federation.
Sure. And what we also forget, well, a lot of people don't understand about economies is, and I'm not an economist, but just sending money around, that doesn't make the economy grow. Now, of course, production is what makes the economy grow. But hey, this is exactly what we are facing right now. We are having energy problems, but energy is the thing that is free. That adds to our products. So that adds to our economy. Energy is the whole thing. Not just money, not just labor, because labor doesn't scale, right? Labor is just the thing that you and I are doing. It's the energy that adds to the product, to the production. And energy, if you do it well, it's free. So that is the thing that we in Europe must educate the people, because then they will understand that this framework that we are building and that we are spending allows us to grow.
In what sense is energy free?
For me, energy, what it is?
Yeah, or in what sense is it free if you do it right?
Okay.
Because
first of all,
even if you have like renewables that trade at zero, you have to like first build the infrastructure, right?
Okay. Let me say you this. Let's go back into coal and oil and all that stuff. What we see is that this is stored energy from billions years ago.
Yeah.
So we never consumed it, right? So that part of the economy that started billions of years ago is stuff that we now get for, okay, not for free because it is labor, but the byproduct, the energy itself that we need to funnel into our economy is billions of years old. So that's free energy. But it also is waste. Energy from the sun, that's free energy. We can consume it right now. The only thing that we need to do for that is we need to collect it. So that's the part of labor that we need to invest into. But as soon as we collect it, it's free. The only place where we don't need to collect it in a natural form is when we sow our seeds, farm our crops, and hope that the sun will grow, make the crops grow.
Yeah.
That's free energy. But that's the only element in our nature, in our economy that is really free. But the other thing is, it is there. The sun is there. We just need to leverage it.
Yeah.
Wind is there. We just need to leverage it.
Coal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you have to like leverage it. How do you have to harvest it basically? For that, you need some capital and then especially infrastructure. But also here, like Europe is very helpful because we can trade or transport electricity from regions that have a lot of wind and a lot of solar to other regions that don't have it. Like, for example, France and Germany or France and the Netherlands trade also a lot of electricity back and forth.
Yes, this is part of the framework. Spain has an abundant amount of solar energy, but it doesn't get to the France grid.
Yeah.
France is the grid highway for Western Europe. It has its own problems. Germany has a lot of it needs a lot of energy, and in the wintertime we have these problems that France needs to cut down on its energy production. Those are the problems of energy transition that happen in France. In Germany and in the Netherlands, we have a network congestion because our network, the grid isn't advanced enough to contain all this energy. But we need to funnel this through the whole parts of Europe, and that's the whole problem. Eastern part of Europe, the western part of Europe, they're too segregated. Even western part of Europe is too segregated.
Yeah.
This is part of the framework. It's not just the economic framework that we need. It's also the physical framework that we need to have. Trains, same thing. Transportation needs to be flooding all over Europe.
Yeah. And right now
that's the whole.
Unfortunately.
Sorry?
Yes, and especially trains, as you said, they are very badly integrated, right? Booking train journeys across borders is still very messy.
Yeah, same thing. That's the whole problem with our current EU system. And I had hoped that our constitution would help us do this, but it didn't.
Yeah. So what we need also is like a proper European constitution, proper European state that would take charge of these things.
Yes. We need to. Well, what we always said in our liberal history is the state is responsible for infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. When the infrastructure is there, the individual can grow, the companies can grow. But that's the whole thing. In Europe, we never thought of it like that. What we thought is if we have the regulations there, the rest will follow. But that's not going to happen. Sometimes you need to enforce these things. NATO was good at it. NATO was very good at standardizing stuff. Why didn't we do this in the EU? Why didn't we say, hey, let's standardize on transportation. Let's standardize on grids. That's the whole important thing of the reason of existing of the state, infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, we did it in some, but not enough, I would say.
Yes.
Not enough. So, how would, like, looking in the future, like, how would, like, an ideal European federal state look like?
Okay.
What's your vision?
My version is I don't care about nations. That is something I said already before. If there are groups within nations that want to have their own communities, go for it. My idea is we need to work with it together. We need to have all participating in our common goal. We need to we want to become prosperous. We want to become self-reliant. We want to become able to defend ourselves. That's also self-reliancy, but in another aspect. And we want to become an example to the world. I don't think we need to be the shining light to the world, but an example to the world. Hey, this can be good as well. And we need to start working together. And eventually, I wouldn't mind that we all kind of integrated into this one big family of speaking the same language, or at least understanding the same language. And again, the feelings enforced into our community. Also, we all supporting the same thing of a lower house and an upper house in the European stuff. That's more like the institutionalized version of the EU. I would like to see that we have a lower house, a House of Commoners, a House of, I don't know, the Senate. I don't think we should reflect something of the feudal system that we had, but we still need to have the people who are really capable of thinking of processes, and we need to have people who are thinking of the wants.
Yeah.
And I want to have them a place within whole Europe. Right now, it's all inside of western part of Europe, but I want to have the eastern part being an element of that one as well. Let's say, okay, we now have Brussels. Maybe we need Vienna, or we need Prague, becoming the second capital of Europe. That mixes the thing in Eastern and Western, and can make it easier to integrate each other. Yeah. We need to integrate.
Also to distribute the EU institutions. So Frontex has its headquarters in Warsaw. However, that's, I think, the only EU institution I'm aware of that has its headquarters in Eastern Europe.
But it's a headquarters of a organization. That's not a headquarters of the state body.
That's true.
And maybe right now we have Strasbourg, we have Brussels, and of course in Luxembourg we got a lot of things. Maybe we should just say, okay, Strasbourg, so long. You go to the other part.
Yeah, I mean, Vienna would be very suitable for that.
Yeah.
Basically, it's right now the corpse of an empire. It has all the administrative and very beautiful buildings once built for the Habsburg Empire 100 years ago, but the Habsburg Empire is gone, and Austria is just now a comparably small state with basically a way too big capital.
Yeah. You said it, and the buildings are so beautiful over there.
Yeah, oh yes, they are.
So, hey, the eye wants to have something as well, right? It's not just the feeling that needs to be good, but it's also the eyes need to look at beautiful things. That is also one of the things we said as in our manifesto. We want to build beautiful again.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think we can aspire for as well. It's not doom and gloom what I'm thinking.
No.
Yes, beautiful. In our manifesto, we have said, okay, we want to build beautifully again, and that's something that we need to bring to the people as well. It's not just regulations; it's also the feeling that Europe has. We kind of forgot about that, and that's not good, because history is something that should teach you something. It doesn't repeat itself, and we mustn't long for a history, because that reverses us.
Yeah.
But we can learn from history, and we can it can teach us new things, and it can also say, hey, some parts don't have to be changed, because they work, but you still have to reflect on that. But that's just like how I envision Europe. Also, we learned from our history again that Europe has a uniqueness in its development. During our imperial age, we both colonized the world, but we also learned from that world. And I don't think it's unique for Europeans, but the way how we integrated this in our civilization, that is unique.
We have like reflected on it a lot. It's not like we are not like, for example, Russia, where you have everywhere now Stalin statues popping up and glorifying the imperial past, but there's a deep like reflection.
Yes.
Saying, well, that wasn't right. Let's do better.
Now, that's also one thing, but that's the negative parts of colonization that happened. But also look at the other parts. We learned in the 18th century the distance between the Earth and the Sun. How did we do this? That was because in the UK, in Great Britain, they thought, okay, we need to find a way to do this. And what they did is they sent out scientists to all parts of the world where they were located, and even parts where they didn't. So they sent even groups of scientists to California. They sent groups of scientists to the South Pacifics. They sent groups of scientists to Russia. And what they did is, in their colonies also, they had these groups of scientists. What they did is they measured the time it took from the sun to hit one part to the other part to the other part, and because of that, we had trigonometrics that allowed us to measure the distance between the Earth and the Sun, because we knew the curve of the Earth. So there was a kind of distance that happened over there, and that allowed us to make this scientific breakthrough. That was only one thing. The other thing, there happened so many things, like the Brits, they colonized India, and what they did is they did some grave digging. Why? not because of the treasuries, no, but because they wanted to learn from the people who were buried there.
Yeah.
That was integrated into our science as well. The people over there, they never thought of digging up those bodies because, hey, that's sacrilege. You don't do this.
Yeah.
But because we did it, we learned from it. And that's what Europe makes Europe unique. We integrate our ways of discoveries into our society, and our society enforces to educate ourselves, and that is the core of Europe.
Yeah, very much. I mean, like, birthed out of European Enlightenment. We have
Yes.
just applied a lot of the scientific methods to our own societies.
Yes.
And that also allows us to like continuously to improve and tinker and adapt. And we do it.
Yeah, we do it. And the reason Asia was in the 16th century was just as far ahead as we were. But they never stepped out into the world. They were looking inwards.
Yeah.
And we are always looking outwards in Europe. And the problem right now is that there are forces in Europe that makes us look inwards again. And we must stop doing that. We must look outwards. Hell, we even said, okay, Europe must go to the stars.
Yes, it should. I mean, that's also our motto at Astra, right?
Yeah, that's our motto.
At Astra, we should look to the stars and try to be ambitious. And I mean, nowadays it's the space, the final frontier.
Yeah, exactly. We colonized the West. We colonized the New World. What holds us back from colonizing the undiscovered country? Star Trek, right? But it is the undiscovered country.
Right now, it's a lot of paperwork and engineering.
Yeah.
I think we can get rid of the paperwork and also attract more engineering again into Europe.
Yes, we must get rid of that. That is also one of the things. We must get rid of all these regulations that are holding us back. But I also believe that these regulations are part of people wanting to have this seat in parliament right now. They want to have meaning, and they think this is pure speculation. They want to have this feeling of I'm doing something for Europe, so I come up with these regulations, and then the nations must enforce them. But what if we can say, hey, nations, you no longer have to do this anymore. You don't have to implement these regulations. The implementation also comes from us because we are broadening our scope. And then suddenly 27 nations don't have to invent that wheel again. It's already done inside Parliament.
Yeah. So basically, there's a smarter way to regulate, and that is by standardizing across Europe.
Yes. Yes. That was something that NATO was good at, and that's something that we must implement into Europe as well.
Yeah, I agree very much. So, yeah, maybe to wrap things up, if someone wants to join Astra Europa, especially in the Netherlands, what should they do?
What should they do? They well, they have the website. They can mail us already. In the coming 2 weeks, I hope, we will be able to have our subscription membership on the website. You can start donating. You can start paying your membership fee and all that stuff. That's the thing that we want to implement. It's already in beta right now. I have to activate it for the public website, and then people can just come in. What we also need to do is engage us on Twitter or X, engage us on the Reddit subreddits for Astra. I don't think we have it Dutch, but we are looking into that as well. info@astraeuropa.nl is also possible for us to come and say, hey, I'm interested. We already have people who are interested.
Quite a lot, right? We have
a lot, yes, but there's also
people signed up to our newsletter alone.
Yeah. I made a newsletter, and in less than a month, we almost have 500 subscribers.
Yeah.
And we only sent it out once.
We have to do it again.
We have to do it again.
Some information more, but also getting first a few things done, like the registration forms and so on. So there's a lot of happening right now at Astra.
Yeah.
So
and what we will start doing is we are going to start working with We Are Europe. That's a good organization that will help us, and we can help them. We already have cards. We just come on, join us, and soon we will have events where people can join us as well and become more interested.
Awesome. Great. So everyone listening here, especially if you're from the Netherlands, reach out to Astra Europa in the Netherlands. We are growing fast, and well, we want to transform Europe so it stretches for the stars. It's worth dreaming about, and it's a great pleasure to work on this together with you, Rolf. Thanks for coming today.
Same. It was good.